government?
Well, we've had a variety of issues over the course of the Parliament where things have taken longer than they necessarily would, where debates have been more performative than actual around debates around substance. I don't want to read into the record, although other deputies in Parliament did read into the record their love of cats and dogs and but these are examples. These are real examples in committee. You get the pleasure of covering committees, and I ask you, and I say this as someone who's testified to committees in front of the Canadian Parliament, in front of the UK Parliament for decades. There's a difference between real testimony, real substance, getting to issues, debating aspects of law, advancing. That's the job of parliamentarians, and showboating. We're going to have less of that. We're going to have more substance. I think all parliament.
At issue, the Liberal majority. With the by-election wins tonight, the Liberals have seized control of the House of Commons with Canada's first majority government since 2019. So what will this power dynamic, this shift's first majority government since 2019. So what will this power dynamic, this shift mean for Parliament Hill? What could this kind of stability mean for the Liberals? I'm Rosemary Barton, here to break it all down for a special by-election at issue. Andrew Coyne, Althea Raj, and in for Chantal tonight is Catherine Cullen. Nice of you all to be here to react right away to what is a significant development for the Liberals in an unprecedented way, Andrew. They now have a majority. They have a little bit of wiggle room. What do you think this changes in terms of the expectations for the government?
Well, it doesn't change the stability a huge amount. I mean, whether you're 1 or 2 seats in minority or 1 or 2 seats in majority, what's really stabilizing this government is the Prime Minister's popularity, the popularity of the government. Nobody's going to bring this government down anytime soon. What it does do is it allows them to push through their agenda a lot quicker. All of the committees, they'll be able to invoke closure or time allocation if they wanted to cut off debate. So from that standpoint, it makes life easier for them. Whether that's good from the standpoint of accountability is not so clear. But should their popularity turn against them, it does give them an insurance in the long run. At some point, the government will fall into, as governments always do, fall into some odium with the public. So that's an opportunity for the Prime Minister, if he wants to take it, that he's in the position to be able to spend down some of that political capital if he needs to do difficult but necessary things for the country, and we'll see whether he takes that opportunity.
It does, Althea, certainly allow a certain ease to get things through, and the Prime Minister talked about it on the weekend, but I think it's the speed at which he might be able to get some things done, and he probably needs that speed because he needs to start showing Canadians that he's getting some results.
Well, it gives him breathing room. Sorry, I'm a little sick. I think I'm going to cough. Yeah. Pardon me. They have had a pretty easy way so far. They've been given carte blanche in many ways by the Conservative Party, but now he gets to decide what trade-offs he would like to do, the Prime Minister would like to do with different parts of the Liberal coalition. And over the weekend, we got a good speech from the Prime Minister in which he clearly laid out that he understands the different parts of the Liberal coalition. Mm-hmm. And there are a number of challenges in the next few weeks and months, whether that's the CUSMA renegotiation, whether that's the midterms, whether that's making good on all of the promises that he has laid out. In many cases, the Carney Liberal agenda is a generational agenda. It's a decades-long, at minimum, agenda where you actually know whether or not the government has made the right bets. And he gets to start defining himself as he would like without the pressures of external events. So it's great for the Liberals, it's really great for the Conservatives, I'm sure we'll talk about that, and it's good for the NDP. Politically, it's great. Whether it's great for the voters, I think it's too early to tell.
All right, so no one's necessarily unhappy. We'll talk about the Conservatives in the next block. I'm not convinced they're dancing on the ceiling here, Catherine, but what does this mean for the Prime Minister, who really not only brought this party back from the dead, but now has brought them back to a place where they haven't been since 2019?
Well, I think, Rosemary, when you look at the amount of effort that went into getting them to this place, yes, we're announcing this tonight because of these by-election results, but the floor crossers were integral to all of this. The Liberals have talked about this as being something of an organic process. One MP starts talking to somebody in a neighboring riding and things just go from there. But we know that there is a campaign, in a manner of speaking, when we look at the fact that 5 have already crossed, and there are a lot of questions about who else might come over now that they've crossed this majority threshold. It speaks to the fact that the Liberals want this. They feel that they need this, yes, certainly for the security and the stability, but also to get their agenda through. So I think this leaves us with some big questions about what exactly it is that they feel they haven't been able to do quickly enough, that they still want to get passed in Parliament, because some of Mark Carney's challenges aren't outside of Parliament, right? It is things like Donald Trump getting big things built, increasing what Canada sells to the world, and Parliament doesn't have a lot to do with some of those really sort of big hallmark challenges he's facing.
Andrew, the fact is, as Catherine points out, that this majority was secured, let's be honest, primarily by floor crossers. These 2 by-elections are sort of like is there any question there about the actual legitimacy of the majority, but how that looks to Canadians, and whether there is any discomfort with this majority that's come about, or is the fact that this is popular and so it doesn't really matter?
I don't think the floor crossers are the issue for the Prime Minister to manage. I believe the floor crossers are an issue, frankly, for the floor crossers themselves to manage. Back home, I think it does feed into general cynicism towards politicians. I do think there will be questions about, what did you get in return for these votes? I do think that government backbench MPs, or backbench MPs of the governing party, have an important role to play too. I think part of the problem in Ottawa, and we're part of the problem too in the media, is that we kind of reinforce that the backbench MPs are there to rubber stamp what the government is doing. But I think what we're going to see in the next months, especially if more floor crossers come and the Liberal majority becomes larger, you will have parts of the Liberal backbench who start to flex their muscles a little bit more and say, well, wait a second, we're not comfortable with that. And we saw a little bit of that in terms of about a dozen or so Liberals who supported an NDP's private members bill. That's, minor, small potatoes, but they will also be looking to be doing work that is satisfying for them, whether that's quizzing ministers perhaps in a more aggressive way when they come to committee. Maybe that's suggesting that things, I don't want to say make work projects, but they're given studies to sink their teeth into and things like that when the Liberals have a majority on those committees. What it means, though, in terms of politics and the politicking for the floor crossers, I think is different questions in different ridings, because I think some people have more support for their choices than others have had.
What does this mean for the Prime Minister, ultimately, Catherine, in terms of how he manages this caucus that he has cobbled together from various different places, and the fact that he now has a majority that they thought they almost had last year?
I think it is going to test his caucus management skills, Rosemary. On the one hand, the polls say he's very popular right now, and I think that is going to convince a lot of MPs, certainly for some time, to go along with his agenda. He did bring the Liberal Party back from essentially the political dead, but at the same time, you just have to look at what happened with Stephen Guilbeault leaving cabinet over the Alberta MOU, the agreement, to see that there are moments where the rubber does hit the road for MPs, and they say, even if what the Prime Minister is doing might be favored by a significant number of Canadians, they're willing to speak up. And so the size of this majority becomes a very significant question, and Mark Carney's ability to keep all these people with, it's been with Donald Trump and see some progress on those issues.
Majority security. Not seen since 2019, but what does it mean for the opposition? What challenges come with this new dynamic? Here to break it all down again for a special by-election at issue, Andrew, Althea, and Catherine Cullen. I will say that Pierre Poilievre has responded on social media saying that the Liberals did not win a majority government through a general election or today's by-elections. It was done through backroom deals, and he goes on to say he will continue to lead his fight for all the things that matter to Canadians inside the House of Commons. But this is not a good night for Pierre Poilievre tonight, Althea. Obviously he wanted to try and hold